Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to decode the secret language that's hiding inside all the music you love. And yeah, we're talking about rhythm, but not just the part that makes you tap your foot. We're diving deep into the hidden architecture that makes music feel exciting, complex, and, really emotional. So, let's get into it.
So let's start with a really simple question. You hear a great song, and what happens? Your body just starts to move, right? Why is that? Well, that physical pull, that feeling, it's a reaction to this invisible structure. It's a set of rules and patterns that musicians use to tell stories and make us feel things. Today, we're going to make that invisible structure totally visible. All right, we have to start at the absolute foundation, the musical heartbeat itself. And that means we're talking about beat and meter. Okay, so these two ideas, beat and meter, they sound simple, but they are so powerful. The beat, that's the constant pulse, the lifeblood of a song. But it's the meter that gives it shape, that organizes those heartbeats into patterns we can actually recognize. It's the difference between just random thumping and an actual march or a waltz. And that organization, that's what our brains just love to latch onto.
But let's be real, music would get pretty boring if it just followed that steady, predictable pulse all the time, wouldn't it? So now let's look at the fun stuff, the rhythmic devices composers use to add some surprise and flavor into the mix.
So the first and honestly most exciting ingredient is something called syncopation. The best way to think of it is like a rhythmic curveball. It's that moment in a song that totally catches you off guard, that little skip or jump in the rhythm that makes it feel so good and, well, so groovy. It's literally the reason you can't help but nod your head to a great funk or jazz track.
And this quote just nails it. Syncopation is all about playing with our expectations. The beat sets up a pattern, right? And then syncopation comes in and cleverly breaks it, just for a second. It creates this little moment of tension and release that is just so satisfying to our ears.
If you want a perfect example of this, just listen to Scott Joplin's The Entertainer. You've got his left hand just keeping that steady, predictable beat, kind of like a clock, tick-tock. But then his right hand is just dancing all around it, hitting notes just a little bit off the main beat, creating that iconic, syncopated magic. It's that playful fight between the steady part and the jazzy part that makes the whole thing work.
Now, another piece of rhythmic spice is the triplet. So while most music divides the beat into two even parts, like one and, two and, a triplet does something really clever. It squeezes three notes into that same exact space. It creates this amazing rolling momentum, like a rhythmic cascade that feels totally different from the straight beat happening underneath it. Think of the sound of a horse galloping. That's the feel of a triplet.
Okay, so we've got the pulse, and we've got the rhythmic flavor. Now, let's zoom out a bit and look at how entire musical lines are woven together. This is called musical texture, and trust me, this is where things get really interesting.
This is the perfect analogy. Seriously, just picture a tapestry. Is the music made of a single, simple thread, maybe like a lone singer? Or is it this rich, complex tapestry with dozens of threads all moving independently, like a full orchestra? The way these threads are combined completely changes how the music feels.
So the simplest texture is what we call monophonic. It's literally just one melody. The best example? Think of a whole crowd singing Happy Birthday together. Even if there are 100 people singing, they're all singing the exact same single melodic thread. It's basically the musical version of a single line drawing.
Next up, we've got homophonic texture. Now, this is what you hear in most pop songs. You have a main melody, that's the vocal line, and everything else, the guitar, the bass, the keyboards, it all moves along with it in perfect rhythmic lockstep. All the threads are moving together as one big block, creating a really clear and direct musical statement. And finally, we get to polyphony, which is the most complex texture. This is our rich, detailed tapestry. Here you have multiple, independent melodies all happening at the exact same time, weaving in and out of each other. Each thread is basically telling its own little story, creating this beautiful, complex musical conversation.
Okay, let's make this super concrete with a song literally everyone knows, Amazing Grace. If you sing it by yourself in the shower, that's monophonic. A church choir singing it with chords and harmonies, that's homophonic. But what if it's arranged as a round, where different voices start at different times? Suddenly, you get that beautiful, complex weave of polyphony. It's the same song, but with three totally different textures.
And even polyphony itself has different flavors. You've got imitative polyphony, which is like a musical conversation, where one melody kind of echoes another one. Like in Row, Row, Row Your Boat. But then you have free polyphony, which is more like a lively debate. Just think of classic New Orleans jazz, where the trumpet, the clarinet, and the trombone are all improvising their own independent lines at the same time. It's this beautiful, controlled chaos, and it's absolutely brilliant.
So why does any of this stuff matter? Because composers use these tools, rhythm, meter, texture, to tell these incredibly powerful stories without ever saying a single word. And to see that in action, let's look at one of the most dramatic examples ever written, Mozart's Requiem. It is an absolute masterpiece of musical storytelling.
So in one section called the Confutitas, Mozart musically paints a picture of Judgment Day. It's amazing. For the damned, the music is a whirlwind. It's frantic, it's fast, the notes are low and menacing, the rhythms are jagged and harsh. You can actually feel the chaos and the terror. But then there's this sudden shift. When the lyrics turn to the Blessed, the music completely transforms. The rhythms become long and flowing, the notes soar high up into the heavens, and the harmony is peaceful and just serene. It is literally heaven and hell painted with sound.
So, here's the big takeaway. Rhythm is so much more than just a simple 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this incredibly sophisticated language that can create surprise with syncopation, build complexity with texture, and paint these vivid emotional pictures, from the pure joy of jazz all the way to the terrifying depths of damnation.
So now that you know the code, the language of rhythm is all yours to hear. The next time you put on your headphones, I really want you to listen closer. Can you hear the texture? Can you feel the syncopation? What story is the rhythm really trying to tell you? I think you're going to be surprised by the new layers you uncover, even in your absolute favorite songs.